Welcome to Backstage with the Simple Church Podcast. Josh Mitchell,
Hey.
co-host. Summer is over, Josh.
Thank goodness.
As
Get
three
these
dads of
kids
young
back to
kids here.
school.
Absolutely. Jordan Phillips producing over there
Yo.
also relates to that. But you got first kindergartner? No, one more year.
Oh, one more year.
One more year. So you're getting closer.
One more year.
That's crazy.
It's great.
I do have an update, though.
Oh, breaking news.
I sold my mower, as we talked about on the last episode.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe. You get the new episode each week.
I sold my mower. I had two, because I used to own a lawn business.
Yep.
Nice.
So I sold one. The next morning, I go to mow my yard at my house with my other mower, and it won't start. That's like not a lie. 4 days in, it still won't start.
Can't have
I
nothing.
don't know.
I
It's turning
believe-
over, but it won't. It ain't going.
I believe that's what we call karma for criticizing how
No, you
Evan
know
and
what
I
that
like
is?
to mow our yard.
Oh, you know what
Sent
that
a
is?
picture of mowing this morning.
You know what that is? That's Jesus keeping you humble.
Yeah,
That's what
there
that
it
is.
is.
That's right. Testing you. We do not endorse Jordan's theological takes on this podcast.
Everybody can relate to that.
Everybody
You get
can.
ahead, and then all of a sudden, bam.
Just something knock you back down. Well, speaking of knocking you back down, Jordan, we've been asking people questions, and there's some doozies. We've been going through a series called Asking for a Friend.
I have lots of questions.
You have lots of questions. Good. We want to answer them.
I'll keep them in my head.
Please do.
Questions for the questions.
That's a question for the questioners. So now that we're in a couple weeks of the series, we're going to keep it going because it's just such a broad subject that so many people want to know different things, and we can't get to all of them. 74, as of the last count, questions submitted. Jordan's eyes
How
got
many
big.
of them were like, yeah, we can't answer this in church?
Well, I mean, it's not that you can't answer them, but as a pastor...
There were a few of those.
Yeah, I mean, what's so interesting is, and this is, let's just overarch this whole conversation, because we're going to do 3 weeks of this. We got special guests lined up the next 2 weeks. We're going to answer questions that we don't have time or can't go into the depth on Sunday mornings. But here's my overarching idea behind this. As a pastor, as someone who's done this now for a while, there is such difficult nuance to having some of these conversations and having an open hand with what you believe that most people just want the quick answer, and then they want to debate and argue the answer if they're trying to be contrarian. So, for example,
Me.
yeah, okay, you
Contrarian.
Yeah, is that you? We'll do that, Josh. We'll put you in that camp. I'm not. I think I'm a pretty moderate, pretty even-keeled person, and you've got people on one side of an argument and one people on the other who are very passionate, who feel very strongly, and are so confident in what they believe that they hold on to things really tightly, and that leads to these debates and this argumentative Christianity that Simple Church, we try really hard not to be. And so you're listening to this podcast, you're trying to get questions answered, you're trying to do these things. And again, we're not experts. We're not saying we are the only right answers. We're not saying
Far
that
from it.
we are the only way. But you're choosing to be a part of Simple Church. You listen to this podcast. You trust us. You believe in us and the leadership of this church. You've been a part of it. We want to be known for doing good. We want to be known for serving people. And there's things that nobody really knows. And there are people who will tell you they confidently know things 100%, no doubt, black and white, but they don't. And that's something that I think leaves less room for discussion and for talking through it. And so I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast. Justin actually recommended Oz, the illusionist mentalist guy. Have you guys seen that guy?
No.
Yes.
Justin was telling me about it, so I listened to it last week. And what I really think has made Joe Rogan so successful and why so many people, like, I'm not endorsing everything he says. I'm not saying agree with him. I'm not a regular listener. But listening to that 2-hour podcast, he is very curious. He is very willing to listen and have discussions. And I think there's a lot of that where people are looking for more nuance, more discussion, and not 100% these are the definitive answers we have.
And I think I appreciate about him is that he brings people from all sides of any argument. You know, he's not just, going to one side and, preaching whatever he believes his truth is. He's listening to all the different sides and being inquisitive and trying to figure out why do you think that?
Absolutely.
Going down the rabbit hole.
It's interesting. And I think people are curious and they want to listen. So if you enjoy that, you're going to be enjoying the next couple weeks. If you're looking to just have hot takes and argue, you can send in your feedback to Josh at thesimplechurch.tv. And we're going to have on much more educated people than us, Josh, the next couple weeks. We're bringing in a couple seminarians, got master's degrees, going to be able to answer more theological questions. And we are not trained in seminary. You, me, do not have that. Jordan definitely does not. He's far from it. But we are.
Hey, that's not nice.
Oh, I'm just kidding. But it is something that I think as all of us are Christians, as all of us are walking through our faith, we have learned things, we've experienced things, we've got different experiences that we can share and try to answer what we believe, what we walk through. And again, some things are going to be probably more vague than you want. We're not going to go and just definitively tell you this is the one thing, this is the hard take. We're going to try to answer in the best that we can. So we're going to get started with some lighter ones. We're going to ease our way into it, Jordan. Number one, submitted. This is the only of the 74 questions. You submit them anonymously. This is the only person that signed their name. Mamaw Powder. Hannah Spence wants to know, why is Justin's head so big?
I mean, that is true.
I think it's genetics, Hannah. That's the answer.
Oh, I got the answer.
Oh, do you?
It's so we can see him from the stage.
The shiny light. Hannah is a volunteer that helps started putting powder on Justin's head, so it's not shiny on the camera. That's all the hair and makeup he gets, but it helps. Yeah. So there we go. Oh, First one answered. Done.
Love it.
Next one. What is your favorite Monster flavor? I believe the person submitted this for Justin, and he might answer one day, but are you Monster drinkers, and do you have a flavor? Because I am not.
So I have tried a couple of the Monsters. The white Monster is really the only one that I'll drink in that vein.
That is Justin's.
My personal favorite energy drink is the Rain White Gummy Bear. And as my wife calls them, class action lawsuits, because she fully expects to be sitting in a rocking chair one day. If you or someone you know drank Rain White Gummy Bear,
your heart exploded.
You're entitled to a lawsuit.
All the dyes and flavors. What is Rain White?
No, Rain is the brand name.
Okay.
And White Gummy Bear is the flavor.
I see. Yeah, I was trying to think of like White Rain, what that was.
White Gummy Bear?
Like Purple Rain.
It's good. Delicious.
Are you a Monster guy, Jordan?
I think I can confidently say I'm the one that brought the Monsters into the church.
Wow. You're the dealer.
So you're the culprit.
Well, during COVID, or I don't know, at some point, I was like, Jen, we need some Monsters up here and some ramen noodles and some mac and cheese, because we were spending so much time up here. And so I've always been a white or purple. The peaches one is pretty good.
What's the purple one?
Purple drink.
I don't know what any of them are.
Purple drink.
I don't know what any of them are actually flavored, but
I can tell you because I looked it up.
What is
Jordan.
white?
I don't know all the names, but I do know they all have names. There are 89 flavors that Monsters produced, according to the internet.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Some are called Monster Espresso Hammer. Lewis Hamilton 44 for the F1 driver got his own custom Monster drink. And Ballers Blend, I thought was going to be your favorite, Jordan. That sounds like you.
Yeah,
are you a big
but
baller?
I've been on the First Form energy drinks lately, and they are money.
Never heard of it.
Yep.
I don't drink them.
They're a supplement company out of Missouri.
Do not partake.
Missouri. I'll be dead in the cold, cold ground before I recognize Missouri.
He's a Kansas guy.
Rock chalk, baby.
Getting into little spiritual things. That was a little silly, but let's go. Most obscure story in the Bible. So this is objective. There's no one answer to this. Josh, did you have an answer?
So I had to look up what obscure meant.
Okay, good. That's
I'm a
vocabulary.
Business major, not an English major. But no, obscure, when you come down from the MSM, where I'm at.
Middle school ministry. Come check them out. If you have middle schoolers, go serve.
Yeah, send them on down. Everything's obscure because they don't listen. They don't remember really a lot of things. Yep. So one of my funny ones that I like to tell the story about is probably about 3 or 4 months into teaching, I taught about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, as Jonah always corrects me. Them walking into the fire and not burning up or anything.
Fiery furnace.
So as an example of that, I tried to light a Jenga brick that we had on fire, and of course it didn't light on fire.
So let's time out right there. A couple months in, Josh already trying the props. Already setting stuff on fire. Full youth pastor.
In the building?
Oh yeah.
In the student building.
No, it gets better.
One time I got in trouble for lighting a candle.
Way to go, Jordan. You're not in the student ministry.
So then I lit a piece of paper on fire and been like, this is, life without Christ.
Then you didn't know what to do with it?
Well, I had a cup on the table with water in it, but it was just a solo cup, and the paper didn't go all the way in the cup. And so then the cup lit on fire. And so I'm still trying to teach or whatever, and like this cup is flaming up.
Be cool.
Like almost as tall as me. And I'm just being cool the whole time. And Chet and Carly over there in the corner like, should we get a fire extinguisher? Is that going to be okay?
Good illustration gone wrong.
Did not burn the building down.
Everybody's fine. No injuries.
Yep.
There we go. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's in the book of Daniel, I believe. So I picked one. There's a great YouTube series that's Bible stories seldom animated that somebody made. So it's all these kind of more obscure stories that they made little short ones. So it's like Elijah getting attacked by the bears. And so it's the kids getting all mauled by the bears and doing stuff.
Gosh.
Look them up. I'll put them in the show notes. They're great. But
check that out.
One of those was the story of Ehud. Y'all have ever heard of Ehud in Judges 3? Ehud went to go assassinate the king of an enemy of Israel. And I'm just going to read it to you how he did it in Judges chapter 3, verse 21. Ehud reached with his left hand. He was left-handed. That's important because at that time it was like a dishonorable thing, like you were. It really was in the Jewish culture because you used your left hand to wipe, guys. Your right hand was clean, was for extending. Your left hand was for cleaning yourself.
I'm not.
So why do we shake with our right hands now?
It's just culture. It's what's stuck. Left-handedness was a sign that you were the dirtier, less superior. It was a...
Now I'm thinking.
I don't use my left hand for anything.
Yeah.
Maybe driving.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No,
Keep
left-handed Ehud, they put that detail in there. He pulled a sword from his right thigh and plunged it into the king Eglon's belly. Even the handle sank in after the blade, and Eglon's fat closed over it, so that Ehud did not withdraw the sword from his belly. And Eglon's bowels emptied. Judges 3:21-22.
What?
There you go.
I got nothing to follow that
Obscure
one up.
story. That's what you wanted. That's what the people asked. Number 4. How do I explain God and dinosaurs to my kids? So, Josh, has this come up in your house? Have you had these questions?
Not this one specifically, but questions like this, I usually direct my kids to my wife.
There you go.
Because she is more biblically sound than me. And it's like, go ask mom.
There you go. We're going to get her teaching in middle school. When's she going to come?
Christy's not going to allow that.
You're right.
She's forever in children's ministry.
Have your kids, do they have a question like that? Can you think of something they ask? Because they start to get curious the older they get. And sometimes they're like...
Dom, not so much. Layla gets very, very deep in the questions. Yep. And she asks a lot of in-depth stuff that you wouldn't think a 10-year-old would be asking. But I can't think of anything on top of my head right now. But she's the one you don't want putting you on the spot. And I'm very worried when she comes to middle school next year.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And they do it. And I think as a parent, and then as a parent now and as a youth pastor before, sometimes parents would come with these and be like, hey, my kid wants to know about this. Like, what happens when you die? Will you go talk to them? And they kind of outsource it. Mm-hmm. And they want to go to a quote-unquote expert, which I appreciate. And the church, we're here to help resource and to equip you and help. But as a parent, I think it's even better if you have the chance to say, I don't know. And it's okay to admit you don't know, but I'm going to go find the answer.
Yes.
And do your research and go try to figure it out. So
most of the time, it's just faster for me to just ask Courtney. But yes, I'm more than willing to go and look it up.
And you have a wife that is biblically knowledgeable, that is there and able to help, and your team
That's why I married
works
her.
together. That's right. So, Jordan, is your kids asking any hard questions yet? Anything that, like, I don't know the answer?
Yeah, I typically just make up something.
I love this.
The Simple Church does not endorse that statement. Jordan does not speak for all of us on our behalf.
We passed by something the other day, and Camp was like, what is that, Dad? I was like, well, that's where they keep all the lions in Louisiana. He was like, what? Are you serious?
See,
I'm like, yeah, all the lions are there. And Tyler was like, stop. I'm like, what?
That's just blatant lying to your children.
And then he went around and told somebody that he goes, Dad knows everything.
Nice.
That bubble's going to burst one day. Absolutely. Oh, gosh. So... If you're interested about dinosaurs specifically, I want to answer your question because obviously this has come up. You might have watched Flintstones and be like, did dinosaurs really do it? Okay, fossils is one thing. What about fossils, Jordan? Let's walk down that.
They're there.
Okay.
Someone had to put them there.
Right. But
somebody the other day was debating, like, how are there seashells on top of this mountain? And then it goes to this guy and he's like, the earth flooded? Like, it really did happen, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, we believe
it
that.
happened.
And there's evidence for it, and there's people that would argue there's evidence against. And this is the first one that is a little bit more theological, and you start pulling on some of those threads where it's like, okay, is it a big deal the kid asked about dinosaurs? No. But you're building a framework around your faith of what we believe and how you believe the Bible and what you interpret it as. So, dinosaurs specifically, I found a book. I actually ordered it because I was curious. And so it's on Amazon. We'll put a show link. It's about God and dinosaurs, and it kind of walks through for kids. It's like ages 6 to 10, so a little bit older kids.
So
going
me.
through. Yeah, there you go. I'll share it with you. We'll go and have a family story time. Invite your kids over. So there's 2 views of this, and this is where, again, you can start going down the weeds, and you go down all these different directions, and this is where I think it's very interesting because if you grew up a certain way, if you have a certain denominational background, so for me, growing up as a Baptist, they brought in a group called Answers in Genesis, and they are young earth creationists or non-concordists. So concordists are someone that believe the Bible and science are fundamentally compatible, that when they are properly interpreted, the teaching of Scripture will align with the scientific understanding of the natural world. Bunch of big words, Josh. You have to Google any of those. Let me know.
I will.
All right, yeah.
I'm working on that right now.
The Answers in Genesis group is a non-concordist, and that's the people who look at Genesis and suggest that the creation account is not meant to be a literal scientific description of how the universe was formed. So, you grew up one way or the other. I think I actually said those backwards. The Answers in Genesis are concordists. Now, I've confused everyone. They're the ones that believe it is a literal young earth creationism, 6,000 years, 8,000 years, and the science and the evolution and all these different things don't line up with what the Bible says is literal. Then there's the other side of people who will look at science, and you talk about like fossil records. Mm-hmm. So if you start pulling on that thread and you start going down that road, it's like, okay, if there's fossils and we're saying the fossils are as old as they are, it can't be the young Earth that the other people are saying because there's not enough time to make those fossils. Mm-hmm. So then you have to start going down and say, what do I really believe? How do I interpret this? What do I think about this? And with the open hand versus a closed hand, for me, and I'm going to speak for myself, this is not everybody on staff, this is not everybody else, it is hard to look at the science of things and think that literal young Earth creation is the way that things were created. Could it happen? I absolutely believe it could happen. But it is not a major thing. It is not the thing that we build our faith on. So if we go and start to set our faith on Christ, and that is what we believe, that Christ rose from the dead, that is our hope for salvation, these other things on the side are interesting debate topics. They're starting to have questions, and the fear is that if you start asking these things and look about one thing, it takes the whole Bible and just collapses, and people have a very passionate defense of you cannot start looking at these things and how to interpret what is and what isn't. But then I think about heliocentrism and Galileo. Y'all remember Galileo? You learned about Galileo in class in science. Galileo. There you go. Good song, right? Galileo was a scholar, someone who looked at the earth and said the earth is not the center of the universe. And the church, the Catholic Church at the time, because that was the world power, the biggest church, went and put him in house arrest and basically forced him to recant because it changed their view of the earth being the center of the universe, because their interpretation was that God made the earth the center of everything when he created it, and the earth was there and everything else moved around the earth. Mm-hmm. I cannot find anybody, I don't think anybody here believes that anymore. We agree?
No.
We all revolve around the sun, right? We move around the sun.
The earth is flat.
That's kind of the same people that start going down that way.
Just kidding. It's not flat.
But there's a group of people that really do believe that and will argue and debate it. So when Galileo said that in the 1500s, it bucked against what the church believed, what was common held belief, and all these dominoes they were worried would start to fall. There's still a church. We still believe Jesus is true. We still believe that even though the earth is not the center of the universe, that God created the earth, that there's all these different things that you can go hyperbolic and fear and worry and start to think all these bad things are going to happen if you start to ask these questions. And I think that's why a lot of denominations like control and hard black and white answers and a tight fist, because it's a lot easier. It's a lot simpler.
Yeah.
And you don't have to ask these things. But somebody sent in this question about dinosaurs, as silly as it is, these are little things that you start to build that worldview, and you have to decide what you're going to tell your kids, what you're going to do and believe, what you believe, and it can go quickly to where I think a lot of freshmen in college have these philosophy classes or are exposed to atheists for the first time, and you hear these stories where they start deconstructing their faith, but they're not incompatible. So the organization that I really like is called BioLogos. We'll put a link in the show notes. Bio for biology, logos is the Bible, the word. And they are Christian, science-based people who are explaining a worldview and have great resources that can go. Some people find them a little controversial. Some people disagree with what they're saying. I'm not saying everything they say is right. I'm not saying it is the only way.
But use the resource to...
If you want to ask these questions, it will show you the other side, the non-concordist view of Christian faith, and that both of these sides exist. And I truly believe there are Christians who are going to heaven that believe both sides. And I'm not saying we're right and they're wrong. And I don't want to come in here with arrogance or any of us to say we're going to tell you all of the right answers all the time. I don't know. There's no way we can really know for sure, but it is not the pinnacle or the foundation of our faith. And if it is a literal young earth creation or if it is the other side of it's not, those things are not going to change for me, my faith and what I believe in Jesus and how we have to ultimately have faith in something bigger than ourselves. You say something to that?
Amen.
There you go. So the quote here, we're getting deeper, Jordan. It's not our normal podcast banter.
I haven't had enough coffee for this.
It's early. So here's the quote. We'll wrap up on dinosaurs. The scientific knowledge increases, and as it changes over the centuries, its understanding of the physical structure and history of the earth will change. But through all of these centuries, the theological truths of Genesis 1 remains the same. There is one sovereign God who makes light from darkness, creates an ordered world from chaos, and fills an empty world with good creatures. Humans need not fear the capricious whims of pantheon of gods, but instead trust the one true God who made us in his image and declares us very good.
So if my kids had asked me that question, I would have been like, well, let me go see if they were on Noah's Ark. I don't know.
Let's check out the Flintstones.
I don't think he had room for that.
Check out the Flintstones there. So if this is something, though, that you are passionate about, if you are curious about, do the research. We'll put these links on here. We'd love to have more further discussion. That book for dinosaurs, again, I'm going to read it. I'm going to let you know. Come back when it gets here. I ordered it for Amazon yesterday, getting ready for this. Mm-hmm. These are the things that I want to learn and know and grow, and I'm not the same person I was when I was 14 or 15, and I want to continue to have these different resources and different people and different voices that speak in. I was like, okay, I can see both sides of this argument, and we want to help you to be able to do that too. I think that's the goal, because you don't want the major things to become minor things and the minor things to become major things. Mm-hmm. So Tara Lee Cobble did this series. It's called the Bible Recap. I've gone through it a couple times, and she went every day and broke down a chapter of the Bible, and for a year you read the whole Bible. I've done it twice all the way through. And the thing she repeatedly says over and over when it's difficult subjects or things that are hard is, don't shout where the Bible whispers. So you go and take one small part of Scripture and overarch the whole other story of who God is and what it says. The little things that we can't know and nobody really knows. That's the thing, is you'll find people on the internet that confidently say they know, and you can watch a 90-second TikTok and somebody seems like the smartest person you've ever said, and they can debunk Christianity in 90 seconds, or they can totally destroy this argument. And there's a lot of these hot take kind of things. But when you start to have a discussion with somebody that's educated on the other side, all of a sudden you can start unraveling and going both ways. And that's my hope and my heart is out of this discussion, is you walk away from this podcast over the next couple of weeks as we talk to these different people and have these different guests. We're able to help you to maybe think a little bit differently. And if you are passionate about a subject, try to go and learn more and keep taking those steps. It's not just me and Josh saying, okay, dinosaurs, not real, go, next.
Yeah, no. I'm not the authoritarian, definitely not.
We're not, but there's people who are, and that is something I've always felt passionate about as a youth pastor, is if I don't know the answer, I'm going to help you find an answer.
Yes.
And that's what we want to be here to do, to resource you. So check out the show notes. If you ever go on a podcast and you click on the description, there'll be hyperlinks in there. I'm going to put the book, I'm going to put all the things we're talking about today, and if you want to have a continued conversation and call me and Josh heretics, it's mostly me talking, so it's probably going to be me, but Josh, we're going to throw you under the bus too.
We can have the discussion.
There you go. We'd love to talk more about it.
We can do it off mic.
Then we're going to get weird here. The next question. Somebody wrote this in. Have you guys ever read about Nephilim in Genesis 6? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember this? All right. Genesis chapter 6. This is the message. Make it easy to translate, maybe to understand, to paraphrase. This is what it says. This was back in the day and later when there were giants that lived in the land. The giants came from the union of the sons of God and the daughters of men. These were the mighty men of ancient lore, the famous ones. Numbers 13 goes on to say it this way later. We scattered out the land from one end to the other. It's a land that swallows people whole. Everyone we saw was huge. And why? When we even saw the Nephilim giants, the Anak giants who came down from the Nephilim, we felt like grasshoppers. They looked down on us as if we were grasshoppers.
So my first question with that,
all right,
when we're talking about giants, Chloe thinks I'm a giant. Chloe is my youngest. She's 3. She's, 2 feet tall or however tall she is. I mean, she thinks I'm a giant. My wife thinks I'm a giant. She's not very tall, or as she tells me, she's average height. So, like, when we're saying giants, or when they're saying giants in the Bible, like, are we actually talking about, like, 9-foot people? Because, I mean, I would think Shaq is a giant compared to most of us.
Sure. And he's not 9 foot.
7'1" and, 300 some odd pounds. What does giant mean?
These are good questions. So, that goes back to how you interpret the scripture. It goes back to how you're reading it. People much smarter than us have studied and done these things. This is right before the flood. But the bigger thing that's weird, that you really read this and you start to question, is they came from the union of the sons of God, which the Hebrew words in this Old Testament passage would have been like angels or fallen angels. They're the kids of angels and human women that are having these giants. And this is where the flood story, that you start to destroy everyone else on earth, Sodom and Gomorrah, the Tower of Babel, that it is one interpretation that these fallen angels, these demons, were having these giant kids and were trying to destroy the human race and go through and populate the earth with their kind of half-breed offspring, and that's why the flood came and destroyed everybody else on earth there. And the descendants that survived, which again is weird because you think about the flood and Noah and his family, there's still other descendants somehow that are coming from somewhere. If it's demons, if it's fallen angels, if it's all, it gets into really weird stuff that we gloss over most of the time and just pretends not in there.
Right.
And so there's a podcast called Blurry Creatures. It's 2 guys that have grown up in church that have a faith background that ask these questions and have on these different kind of crypto experts and Bigfoot and Nephilim. There's a whole episode. There's actually a couple episodes. We'll link one in the show notes. If this is your thing, somebody sent this question in. Somebody somewhere Googled or found or read Genesis 6. You're curious. This is a really interesting pro Nephilim take. I listened to this episode. There's a couple other ones I haven't listened to of how it could happen, explaining how these things were going on, and it's trippy. I mean, I don't have a quick, easy answer to just say, oh, no, it's just like they're 7 foot tall. it's some weird stuff. It's some weird, interesting things in the Bible that when you really start to dive in and look at it, it's like, okay, if there were these giants, it would have been the descendant would have been Goliath. It's probably the most famous one we would know, that Goliath fought David, that based on the armor and what they say in the book of Daniel, that you could go through and you think that he's probably 7 to 9 feet tall, somewhere in that range, based on the average height at the time and all these different things. So I don't know. That's my bottom line. It's weird. It's crazy.
Also, how are they measuring these people? Did they have rulers? Like, weren't they using the metric system?
Oh, well, that metric system didn't exist.
See? So
yeah.
How do we know what
cubits?
What does height mean?
Cubits is what they used, Josh. They had their own system of measurements back then.
Hands.
Yeah, hands like horses.
Like a horse.
Yeah.
There we go.
But
giant hands or baby hands?
Right. And the average size of a person back then was about 5'5". In Jewish time, we do know that based on skeletons and remains and different stuff. So people were smaller back then on average. So a 7-foot person would have been a giant. But if there's a whole race of 7 feet people that are walking around,
I mean, there's a race of 7 feet people walking this earth right now. I mean,
not like all of them in one country. There's not like a country of 7 feet people.
No, but I mean, genetic diversity has changed a lot over time.
It's interesting. So, and again, the Numbers verse, this is when it's Joshua going to take over all these different places after Moses leads them in the promised land.
Great book.
They said they're like grasshoppers. So a grasshopper compared to a person, there's a lot of scale there. It's obviously open interpretation. But Genesis 6, go check out the podcast if you want to go deeper into that. But the other article I'll link in there, I read about Nephilim yesterday. The quote again, this goes back to the theme of the day. It is best not to be dogmatic on an issue about which the Bible says so little. So in the scheme of the Bible, whether they were 7-foot giant human beings or they were demon sons that were going and have supernatural abilities and different stuff, I don't know that interpretation, but I think it's not a major point, but it is really interesting if you want to go down that discussion.
Yeah, and those types of things is one of the things Courtney and I talk about quite a bit about the Bible in general. It's just, like you said, a lot of things I think sometimes aren't meant to be taken so literal. Now, this I'm not saying
but
this.
Just hold on.
I'm not saying this.
I know, and that statement will stir people up. There are very much people that will be argumentative.
Because there are parables, there are things that God intends to be metaphors. He's trying to teach us more about the lesson or the moral of the story, not necessarily the exact events that happened.
And there are circles of people that would debate that. And that's what we're saying is that is one interpretation. You might have a different interpretation, but these things start to get more and more serious. And we'll get into the next question here where you start to go like, okay, were there giant people in the Bible? I don't know. But this next one, how do people usually connect and build relationships at church? That's super important and practical to your life.
Very much.
Because if you are not connected, if you feel isolated and alone, you're probably not going to last very long here. You don't want to be at a place where you don't feel like anybody knows you or cares about you. And how do you take those steps? These are ones we can't answer, Josh. I feel pretty confident about this.
I'm pretty good on this one.
There we go. That's right. So less debate, less open-ended, Jordan. We want you to get in a life group and we want you to serve. 2 key ways at Simple Church. Some places have Sunday school. You grew up in a church that had Sunday school. It seems like the easiest onboarding way to get a part. Sunday school is not perfect. It's not the only way. It is a way. Yep. And the idea behind Sunday school is, number one, for our age, you have childcare, so it's easier on a Sunday morning.
Love that.
When you meet and have a group that you can do stuff. And then the other thing is, in Sunday school, you're already coming to church anyway.
Yes.
So you blocked out the Sunday morning, you have the time to go to service, and you just stay an extra hour and go to a Sunday school. I have friends that go to churches that love Sunday school. They have great Sunday school classes. I have plenty of friends who tried a Sunday school class. It didn't work. You go and you meet people. You don't vibe. He's not the leader. You don't go, and whatever happens, the leader leaves, and it's not the same. So Sunday school is not a perfect system. Sunday school is not the only way. Some people really like it. But for us, we do life groups, and there's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is when we met, we didn't have space. So literally, there's no space to have Sunday school, even if you wanted to.
Yes.
That was a very practical reason to decide that.
Even now, we still don't have the space to host.
And that's right. Absolutely. We have more space
several
than
different
ever.
Sunday schools.
But for the thousands of people that come on a Sunday, there would not be room. It's not practical. And the second part of that, which I think is equally as important, is there's a value to continuing to meet during the week.
Yes.
Finding a life group, being a part of something bigger than yourself. So giants are weird, but Jordan, we just had a little break. You brought up a great question. And you said it might offend people, and I think this is a lot of people might be wondering this.
That's not my intention
don't back
in
off.
any way, shape, or form.
Be honest.
But, and I struggle with this just in life in general, I guess. And I don't know if it's a struggle, but this is just like, I think very literal about a lot of things.
I have this question too.
And so, like, for me, the whole like Scotty Scheffler interview a couple weeks ago.
Man, like really good pastor gave a message, brought that clip in.
Yeah,
talked
like
about
you
success.
played that, and
me, yeah, it was me.
You played that, and I was like, I looked at my wife. I was like, watch this. Like it's to me, it's like, what does any of it matter? Like, why do we take and spend so much time, like, really, really diving and digging deep into stuff like that? I mean, I know people are curious. People want to know. People dedicate their life to it.
Yeah.
But why? Like, and like for me, I'm like, but
At
why?
the end of the day.
Yeah, but like, why?
And I don't think it even necessarily has to be just this part about giants, just stuff in
Dinosaurs,
general.
right.
You know, anything in general.
Right.
You know, why do we expend so much brain power on trying
this
to...
is just a life thing in general.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So my thought would be, and you kind of said this, Josh, just say what you were saying about somebody like me that was willing to go and answer the question versus hyperfixate.
So Evan is definitely a person who is going to go, and my wife is the same like this as well, as somebody who's going to go and...
Both of us were active, inquisitive minds, gifted students.
Active, inquisitive minds.
Got it. I don't have that, apparently.
No, I don't either. But no, you're going to... A question is going to be presented to you, or a problem or an issue or whatever, and you're going to go find a book or an article or something to go read and learn more about it, and then you're going to come back and, you know, explain what you found and what you believe based off what you found, or what you think based off of what you found.
Right.
And, you know, for me, and I don't want to speak for Jordan, but it sounds kind of like for Jordan as well, it's like we hear a question or, you know, have a problem come across, and it's just like, well, I don't know, but it's fine.
Anyway,
back to this cheeseburger. Like,
but I think for me, it's even more than that, and like this could even go into like, what's your like you could even go in as deep as what's your purpose on the earth with this, because
What
like
is success?
like think about it in the sense of like work. Okay, if you don't own a business, you work for somebody that owns a business, and you work a lot of hours and a lot of time and spend a lot of money, or not money, but you spend a lot of
Valuable
your time,
resources, yeah.
valuable resources to
Brain
make
power.
them a ton of money, and you just get paid what you get paid. Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I always have that kind of thought in my
deep
head.
questions.
Is like,
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or people that spend, like Scotty Scheffler, spends his whole life dedicating his life to sport
And reach
He's the
highest
number
level.
one
Yeah.
golfer in the world, and he's like, yeah, it's cool, but like,
What does it
fades.
all mean?
what does it mean? What does it matter? Like, and so then that goes into like, what is our purpose on earth?
So what is your purpose, Jordan?
Well, I mean, our purpose on earth is to get as many people to Christ as possible. I mean,
What is
that's-
your purpose? What are you living for?
Huh?
What are you living for?
That, I guess. Tacos. But, I mean, just,
Well, because tacos are greater than burgers, like I told you.
Hot takes.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Although I did find a really good burger in Austin. Man, it was.
You have to
A
tell
good
me about
meal,
it. We gotta
important in
find
life. That's right. So these are great questions, and I'm glad you said that, Jordan. And you were like, I don't want to offend anybody. I was like, I don't think
Well,
people are
yeah,
offended
and,
because. Go ahead.
Well, and it's not a. I don't want to be controversial
No,
or
we're not
offend
hot
anybody,
take
but
machines.
it's like it's a real. I'm asking my question.
I think you'll be surprised that a lot more people than you think probably feel that way.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And they just won't say it, or you just don't have
Or maybe
the
they just-
opportunity to have that conversation.
Or
with
maybe
them.
I'm saying it now and they're actually thinking like, wait, why am I? Why?
you started it. You're going to cause them to
Maybe.
doubt, Jordan.
Sorry.
You're the reason people's faith unraveled.
Well, I always thought it, and then Scotty did it, and now I'm just like back on it. But
So this is something that I have also struggled with, and it kind of ties into the sermon that you preached and talking a little bit
What
about.
a good sermon. Link in the show notes. Go check it out.
Talking a little bit about, you know, success and what does success mean, and maybe not so much success for me, but, you know, I have worked a plethora of jobs over my life.
Good word.
And,
He knew that word.
You know,
Plethora.
I know that word. I know a couple words out of the dictionary, just a few. But, you know, just truly understanding what my purpose is and why am I doing all this stuff. You know, I had a job right out of college working in insurance, and I was making good money, and I had all the things and could take all the trips and do all the stuff. And, you know, I was not in a great place mentally. Like, I did not like the job. It was stressful. You know, I didn't feel fulfilled, and, you know, moved on from that, moved on to another job, and I finally got into a place in my life and my career where I feel fulfilled with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. You know, in real estate, I get to help people out with.
And if we're honest, you make less money.
We can get into that.
But I think it's a good thing for people to hear because it's a trade-off.
Yes. And so, with real estate, I get to help people with the biggest purchase that most people will ever make in their life. With being a minister, I get to minister to kids and help them create relationships and long-lasting stuff. This is the whole reason I got into it was because of Bobby Stevenson. He poured into me and a lot of other people that are within this church and in this community, and people still talk about him all the time. Just that relationship and what that meant for them, and that's something that I have strived to do for the kids in my ministry as well as my own kids. And so the place that I'm at now, I get a lot more fulfillment out of it. Don't make as much money, obviously, but I feel like I have purpose. Like I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I was going to say, like, I feel like you could answer the question as to why you do what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Evan, I feel like you could answer that. I mean,
sure.
I feel like I could probably answer that question as well. But, like, I feel like a lot of people couldn't answer. Like, why do you go work where you work?
That is a good question for a lot of people.
But the honest answer is you have to make a living.
Yeah.
And there are people who don't. So
practically,
the story I've used multiple times is my dad, when my sister graduated high school, I went to him and he had lost his job. He worked at Circle K 22 years as a service manager. He went and got a job at Barnes & Noble because he didn't want to move and make my sister move her senior year. And he was trying to figure out what he was going to do in his late 40s at that point. And I was like, Dad, what would you do if you could do anything? He's like, I really don't know. I've never had a job I liked.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the other one about his,
which one?
Favorite job.
What was his favorite job?
You said you asked him like what his favorite job was. He said something about just putting food on the table.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was basically it. That he'd never done anything in life, and he worked and put food on the table, so a living for his family, and he sacrificed and did that, and still is doing that. And I think there's very noble things about that, but at the same time, it's so sad to me.
Well, but I think back to like we joked about it a couple weeks ago about like how I've never had a real 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I did for 2 weeks.
It's not a joke.
But in that 2 week period, I also was sitting there for hours on end doing nothing, going, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
Like I could be doing so many other things right now.
And you found different ways, non-traditionally, to do that, and started your own businesses.
But I think
and
I've
moved
always,
around.
I don't know. It's always been a thought in my head.
Yeah.
Like even when I was coaching baseball, like put everything into it for what?
Yeah. And I think with sports, that is a big thing that a lot of people need to take a step back and look at. What I get as somebody who played sports my entire life, I get it. It's fun.
Brag.
It teaches a lot of discipline. It teaches
I'm sitting here with two athletes.
It teaches a lot of fundamental life skills that you need, about honesty and integrity and all the things. But, when you put so much into it, when you make it your life, when you dedicate everything to it, why? What is the end goal of that? What is the end game of that? Because let y'all in on a little secret, most of y'all are not going to make the pros.
What?
I'm sorry to tell you, 1% of the 1%, which I've oddly gone to school with an oddly high number of athletes that ended up going pro. Like
10, 20, 40?
At least 20.
Okay. That seems like a lot. That's still not very many of the thousands of people you went to school with.
I know, but it seems
higher
like
than normal percentage.
Yeah, but anyway, like, what is all that for? What is the end game? Because if you're not going to go pro, and even if you do go pro, it's like Scotty Scheffler said, what does it all mean?
You also have to take Scotty Scheffler with I feel like with a small grain of salt, because the dude is a multi-millionaire.
I said it in the sermon. I think he's worth $60, $90 million.
He could quit playing golf right now, and his kids would be set.
It's a lot easier to do that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for him at that level to say that.
He got a check 2 weeks ago for $18 million because he's going to be the number one golfer this year.
Right.
But the question is still haunting him and is affecting all of us. And I think this is a great point. We had some other questions, but we'll end on this because we're already running on time. Why does it matter? What does it matter when you ask these questions on these different things? So on the one hand, I do believe there is a value to Christian scholarship and theological perspectives and educated Christians that are writing and getting these things out. And we live in a golden age of that where there is more access than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a couple hundred years ago. You had your priest, your area pastor, and that was it. There's no other. You had books, maybe. Most people couldn't afford books.
I mean, you go into just our parents' lifetime, and all they had was, encyclopedias and, other books that were written, but you had to get access to those books. It wasn't at the click of a phone or a computer or whatever.
Right. And so the harder thing, I think, now, and this is where I'm passionate and I want us as Simple Church to help, is there are a lot more voices and a lot of people telling you stuff some of them are trying to sell you things. Some of them have
trying to sell you something.
Ill intentions. Some of them are not on the up and up. And some of them, I think, are very passionately, legalistically, so religious and tight-fisted with these things that they want to radicalize you one direction or the other. And it's a slippery slope. And if you go down the rabbit hole on YouTube and you find these certain people that jump out at you, I had a guy that came to me and met with me one time a couple years ago. And he was basically, he grew up in Southern Baptist Church, was Christian, and he wanted to start practicing everything in Judaism. And his wife was having a hard time with it. And she said, will you talk to him? So we met a couple times and debated back and forth. And he was trying to say that he watched this guy who's kind of a doomsday prepper, that you needed to have Saturday Sabbath and can't wear mixed fiber clothes, and went down this extreme, legalistic, law-based religious system that he very passionately believed and still did. I didn't convince him. It's not like I won him over and was able to convince him, but listening and watching the things that he sent, I can see how you get there. And I can really empathize for people that they want structure, they want purpose, they want to control. And it's easier to have a very strict code and system and hold these things tightly and make everything black and white because we feel better. We have more control.
Yes.
There's less ambiguity. Ambiguity? That's
less gray area.
Right. And it feels like it's easier in some ways, but that's not what I think faith is.
Yeah, but I could to piggyback off that, I think that like in our company that I work for,
yep.
My boss is like one of the greatest Christian guys I know. I mean,
present company excluded.
All of our guys are that way. Okay, and so like our thing has always been like, how are we going to impact lives? Like it's we produce events that impact lives. Okay, and so like we always all the time, and this is not like I'm not bragging. This is just truth, right? We always have people ask, like, man, y'all are different. There's something different about
credit to
y'all.
you, yeah.
And so,
That's
like,
great.
y'all may not, like, there's been shows that we messed up 100%, but they still want to continue working with us because we're different. And the reason is because Jesus is at the center of the whole thing.
Yep.
Yes.
And so, like,
and there's places that's not true, that Josh has worked.
So I think that's where, like, if you have a job where you don't know why you have that job, maybe the job is like, how do I bring Jesus into this job?
Sure.
How do I affect
good point,
not only the customers, but how do I affect the people that work for us?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've hired 2 or 3 shop guys that are now extremely interested in Christianity. Just based on how we like
you were around them.
Yeah. So like I could sit here and say, yeah, I do the job I do, one, because I love production and I love doing events, but more than that, it's given me an outlet and a way to reach people, which is our end goal on this earth as it is.
Absolutely. And you can do that wherever you are.
Exactly.
But I think, and this is the tension, and this is where like millennials and Gen Z, they get a bad rap, and like, oh, y'all just want jobs you love and do fun stuff all the time and blah, blah, blah. Jordan, is there part of jobs you don't like?
Oh, yes.
Josh, is there part of your job you don't like?
Yes.
There's part of jobs I don't like, but I love what I get to do.
Yes.
And I am very thankful that we have able to do that. And going back to a very practical thing is going to school for free, trying to be wise financially, driving old cars. I had full scholarship, LSUS, go Pilots.
Good for you.
But it was a big deal because that allowed me the flexibility and the freedom to work at a church. And I didn't have debt, and I didn't have these things and these expectations and lifestyles where I know a lot of people my age that are chasing certain things and are living for things to make money, to go do these different things that aren't going to satisfy.
And they're up in the rat race.
Getting old enough to realize it. And it's they're having these existential crises. And it's just so sad. And I think about my dad where he could have found something that he loved. And would we have had less money? Maybe. I don't know. But we were always loved. We had a great family. We never went without. And just spending your whole life doing something you hate, I think it's a tough thing for me to swallow. And then it's the flip side of that where you can't just look for the fun things. And once something gets hard or the first time you got to do something you don't like, you quit. Like, oh, this isn't a fun job. This isn't what I want to do anymore. But this generation and our generation are starting to ask these questions. And I don't know who's going to go and clean the toilets and do the practical work that nobody wants to do. But at the same time is that if you have the opportunity, if you get the chance to go and try to find something you love, like I have a friend that jokes and is like, you took a vow of poverty to be a minister. I was like, yeah, I mean, I made less money. I've never gone without. We've never not had food on the table. We do these different things. But I have loved every part of what I've got to do for my life so far. Mm-hmm. And there's things I don't like, but I do it and I get why. And there's a lot of people that don't have that piece. So going back to the why it matters question, and we can put a bow on this and be done. Why does it matter that we ask these questions? In the scheme of things, it really doesn't. And some people make the knowledge and the questions and the debating and the apologetics and all these different parts of it the only thing. Mm-hmm. And it's the thing they care about most. And they have head knowledge and don't care about people or don't serve people or don't love people. And they can go and be right, and they could be right the wrong way. Yes. And we all know people like that. And they believe they're right, and they think we're wrong. And you've been around Simple Church long enough, there's probably somebody who's like, oh, Simple Church, that's just a cult, or that's just a fun, they just do a comedy show, or they do these different things. Yep. And we don't have time to get into all the different reasons why we don't agree with that. But it does matter to an extent that as the church leaders, we're the people they're turning to for answers. We have a responsibility, and Josh and students, these things. But we don't know everything. We're not perfect, but we're willing to go and find the answers where we started. And I think that is a good place to end today, Jordan, of why it does matter. I don't think it does in some senses, but at the same time, if these are the things that start to help you to grow and understand your faith more, there's more than ever to find it. There are free resources, podcasts, books, YouTube videos. We want to help you, though, to point you in that right direction of what sources you're allowing to speak into your life. And at the same time, if that is the only thing you care about and you're not serving people, you're not going to pack a snack bag, you're not going to serve, you're not going to volunteer, you're not going to pour into other people, you're missing the point. Mm-hmm. And it's not just head knowledge that matters. So in some ways TikTok. It does, in some ways it doesn't. Don't trust TikTok.
Don't trust TikTok.
Just good general advice. Josh, final thoughts. We'll close up.
Oh, man.
A lot of different stuff. What a day.
I like that last question, though.
Yeah.
It was good.
Good conversation.
Good way to end it, yeah.
Well, the actual last question, just to go back to real quick, was how do you get connected, build relationships at the church? We'll end on that. Is life groups. Find a life group. They're about to kick off in August. We'll have all the ways that you can do it on the app, on the website. Start a life group. If you don't have one you want, make it where it works for your schedule. Find it. Well, I have some that do women on 1 month, guys on the other month. They switch back and forth. You get kids. You chip in for a babysitter. Find a reason to lead a group to have those discussions. Will help you to get the resources. You want to learn about dinosaurs in the Bible? We'll get you a curriculum. Spend a whole semester talking about it.
Yep, and volunteer.
Jordan, eyes got big. That's
volunteer,
right.
Volunteer.
And once you...
My son is arguing with me that it's not Jurassic Park, it's Jurassic World.
Oh. There's a whole nother series. Did you know that last one made like $900 million? It's one of the biggest movies of the year.
The
last one that was Scarlett Johansson that I never saw. I don't know anybody that saw.
Really?
It made a ton of money. Yeah, just saw
and
that.
it's not even linked to the other ones.
No,
is it?
It's
why do they keep doing that?
Bots.
Different AI.
That's how they made the money. It's
That's
bots.
it. Jordan, last thoughts, final thoughts.
Nope.
Good. All right. Thanks for listening.
Jurassic Park, not Jurassic
If
World.
you
That's
like this direction of the podcast, please let us know. If you hate it, please let us know. Josh at thesimplechurch.tv. He'll take all the criticism and feedback.
Yeah, send it my way. I'll definitely read all of it.
Check out the links in the show notes and really keep sending in your questions. Next week, surprise theologian, Josh.
Oh, it's going to be a
Deep questions.
good time.
We're going to get more spiritual questions, answering, asking for a friend. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Peace.